Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to episode 29 of the EV Weekly Wrap. As you guys can see, here are all the brands that we're going to be talking about today: Nissan, Tesla, Hyundai, Genesis, Kia, BYD, Polestar, Skoda and Xpeng. So without further ado, let's get straight into the details. Okay, Nissan Skyline R32 GTR EV. Never thought I'd actually be putting news about this, but as a car enthusiast, as a Japanese car lover, sports car lover, this is the Halo spec car. For the ones that don't know, this car essentially has a nickname Godzilla. It was essentially created between 1989 to 1994. It also dominated V8 supercars in Australia before the car essentially got banned because it was way too good. And now there's potentially an EV version that they're working on. Now, don't get too excited like I did. They're essentially just trying to prove it. There is only one from what I could see, and it was essentially just a test to see what they could do. And so you can see here that traditionally the car, and the details here are on the right hand side, traditionally the car has a RB26D TT motor or engine, 5-speed manual, 206 kilowatts, 353 Newton meters of torque, and it's got an all-wheel drive system, which is essentially you can transfer torque front and back, make it rear-wheel drive, make it all-wheel drive, 50-50 split, and so forth. So very complex system, especially for something that came out in 1989. Either way, what they replaced it with is 260 kilowatt motors, which is essentially 320 kilowatts, and then they've also got they've also got the battery from, it says up here, the Nissan Leaf Nismo RCO2, which is a 62 kilowatt hour battery. And so they put it on 18-inch wheels as well, 235/45 R18, and then they've got R35 GTR ventilated discs and calipers, so much bigger. And you can see over here, pause the screen here if you want to read it in a lot more detail, but it does have paddle shifts, and it also does have, they've programmed in the sensation of shift lock to paddle shift logic, which essentially means it's stuck in a certain gear, similar to how the IONIQ 5N works, until you shift gears and then it continues to go on. Now, in terms of next steps, where to from here? So obviously this was a part of the Tokyo Auto Salon show. That's essentially where it was unveiled. It is a one-off. It's not totally running in terms of like it's a final product. So what they're essentially doing now is they do still need to do some tuning, they still need to do some tweaks and whatnot, but this was essentially just an exercise to kind of prove that they could fit a battery in a car like this, so that potentially something like this could be rolled out in the future. Again, this is all speculation, they haven't confirmed anything at all. But one of the reasons why they originally wanted to build this was because they wanted to see if it was 50 years from now, you know, a Halo car like this, we don't even know if it would be in existence. You know, we don't even know if it would be running properly and whatnot. And so to keep with the times and technology, they've essentially shoved a battery and they're starting to work through all things like that. So it'd be pretty cool one day if we could potentially see all of these electrified. It's not exactly the same, but you know, being able to drive the car itself, and if they can mimic a lot of the stuff, it still helps bring the technology forward to what it was. Either way, that's the Nissan Skyline R32 GTR EV. So let's move on to some actual EV news. So the Kia EV3. As you guys know, we are definitely getting this in Australia. It has been debuted at the Australian Open. So guys, if you are there, snap some pictures, tag us on socials, send it to us, let's have a look. Basically, it's got 400 volt architecture, supposedly liquid cooling and heating battery system as well. Up to 600 kilometers WLTP, V2L standard across all the range, which is really cool. And then there is a new thing here, Smart Regen 3.0 technology. So this is the first car in Kia's lineup to actually have this Smart Regenerative System 3.0 technology. And it's an intelligent system that provides driver with digital co-pilot that can scan the road ahead and respond to situations with lightning fast reactions. So essentially you can engage it by holding the right steering wheel paddle for about a second, and then it integrates autonomous driving technology with regenerative braking as well. And then some other notes that I've got over here. When the driver releases the accelerator pedal, the system uses sensors to detect the distance to the vehicle ahead, driver's pattern of deceleration, and navigation information to automatically decelerate to a safe speed if needed. And it says here, while Kia's previous smart regen system relied solely on traffic flow and driver behavior, this latest version actually incorporates navigation-based data, unlocking an array of advantages for the driver. So, as an example here, if the EV3 is approaching a corner on the road, a speed limit decrease or roundabout, the car will actually automatically slow down to an appropriate speed, just to ensure that you can go through smoothly. So yeah, that's EV3. So obviously there's some in Melbourne in the Australian Open now, so hopefully we're going to see them on the roads really soon. But yeah, that's all of the EV3. So let's jump on to another car that's at the Australian Open, the Kia EV6. So you may have seen a couple of pictures on social media a while back that it was snapped for a couple of weeks ago that I'm pretty sure I had a picture of just before the end of the year. But basically the upgraded model year 2025 EV6 has made its debut there. And so it's going to land in Australian showrooms in Q2 2025. So actually it's not too far away, we're just months away. And at the Australian Open, you can see here it's harnessing its V2L or vehicle to load functionality. The EV6 is actually powering a bunch of phone charging lockers, free to use for visiting tennis fans. How good is that to kind of showcase portability of the battery? Now let's talk through some changes for what you guys get in this new EV6. So you can see at the start, at the top over here, Kia's signature star map lighting. So that's over here and a bit on the back as well. Standard now, you do get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You also do get a fully new wheel design. Now this is only one spec that you guys can see here, but you do have new wheel design between 19 to 21 inches. You've also got a new steering wheel design. You've got a whole updated center console. In the GT line and the GT, you also do get Kia's fingerprint recognition technology. There's also been a battery bump. So the battery sizes used to be 77.4 kilowatt hours. They are now bumped up to 84 kilowatt hours. You also finally get Kia Connect and over-the-air software updates. So when I did drive this car last year, that's one thing that I thought was lacking for a car that was that expensive. You couldn't control it on your phone. And something as simple as thinking at night, do I need to charge my car? I'd like to check what percentage the battery's at before I plug it in for the night. You weren't able to do that. But you know what? Problem solved in this new one, guys. Kia Connect is here. Now, some other things that they've done here for the EV6 GT. It's got stiffer rear sway bars and softer springs, and apparently as a result, Kia has actually done the full retune for both suspension and steering for the GT variant, which takes advantage of the hardware changes as well. And so supposedly they're saying here, the retune has resulted in different drive modes to be improved, better ride and handling dynamics, and increased natural feel and grip levels. So hopefully we'll get our hands on one, and I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll see if it's a much difference. I do remember that the 0 to 100 time we got in this car specifically, or in the current EV6 GT, was 3.5 seconds. So let's see if they do any better. But that is all of the Kia EV3 and also EV6 news. As I said, if you guys are down in Melbourne or down in the Australian Open and you guys have seen it, make sure to take some pictures, share on social media. I'd love to see it in person as well, hopefully one day. But that wraps up all the news for Kia, so let's continue moving on. Genesis GV60. Now, I actually showed you guys this one last week and I spoke about it. So if you guys want to see this again, then pause the screen. But the reason why I've got this one here again is because look what has been spotted. So this was essentially spotted overseas. For the ones with a keen eye, what we are looking at could potentially be the performance version. And I'm not talking about the GV60 performance. I mean, that could potentially be. But a while back I showed you guys the Magma version, which is going to be, I guess, the performance side for Genesis. It was the bright orange color, and it had big promises for crazy big power and big wild colors in that orangey Magma color, and it was going to have big brakes as well. So what you can see in the photos over here, you can definitely see some massive brakes at the front, and at the rear it does fill up a lot of the rim. And so there's rumors that this is either the performance version or the Magma version. At this point in time, these are just spy photos, no specs, nothing, no one else knows anything else. So get excited, guys. If we find out more, or if I find out more, I'll definitely let you guys know. But there is definitely something in the works, and it looks like it's going to be something quick considering the size of those brakes. Anyways, that is Genesis, so let's get moving on. Okay, Hyundai IONIQ 6 and Kona. So a couple of weeks ago I put up my review, or my delay review on the IONIQ 6, so make sure you jump into my videos if you want to take a look at that. I'll also put a link in the description as well to the IONIQ 6. Some of the comments there, and you know, I agreed myself, was it's a very expensive car. But you know what, guys, look at what we've got here. Hyundai is offering up to $20,000 off the total cost of an IONIQ 6 electric sedan and up to $5,000 off the Kona Electric SUV. So now I don't know why specifically, but they're saying the company is calling the discounts deposit contributions as they work like a down payment on the car, reducing the overall cost of a loan. But what you can see is from the IONIQ 6 side of things, they've got 230 models nationwide, so it includes all in-stock new and demo models. You've got pretty much a couple of months until end of March 2025. Dynamic, which is the entry-level Technic mid-spec variants, get a $15,000 discount, and then the Epic, which was the one that we tested, $20,000 discount. So how's that for savings? Again, it's still going to be quite a lot of money. You're still talking about in your 60s, 70s thousands of dollars, but it does bring it down to a much more compelling price. You can also see here that for the IONIQ 6, buyers also receive the choice of either $1,500 voucher to use with EV, or you get a 22 kilowatt Autel Maxi charger Type 2 worth $1,500. For the Kona EV, it's all in stock new models, but with a production date before July 30th, 2024, and again there is 371 examples of this nationwide. Kona also offers ends 31st of March as well, and it also comes with a $1,500 charging voucher from EV, or the 22 kilowatt charger as well. So how's that for pricing? Let me ask you guys, if you guys are looking for an EV, let's say in the 60s or even early $70,000, would you consider these two cars at all, considering the prices come down this much? Let me know in the comments below. Either way, that is the biggest price cut that we have seen officially from any manufacturer lately, so amazing. Anyways, let's move on because we've got more price cuts coming up. BYD. So I'm not going to go through the details between the Atto 3 and also the Dolphin, considering last week we just went through that. So pause the screen here if you want to have a look, or jump over to last week if you want to have a look at some of the differences with this new essential model that they're bringing here. What I want to talk about actually is the BYD Seal. But overall, BYD are essentially doing price cuts, as you can see through all of here. Just note though, I did miss out that the BYD Shark 6, even though it's a plug-in hybrid, they haven't obviously done any pricing changes for that because it's only just commenced deliveries this week. So it doesn't really make sense if they're selling already heaps and that it's a new car, so not needed. Anyways, let's talk about the BYD Seal. So you can see that prices have changed. They've been cut between roughly $2,808 all the way to about $3,758. Now, depending on what variant you get, you get different things. But let's go through some of the things that you do get based on these models that you see here on screen. So entry level is dynamic, mid spec is the premium, and then the top spec is the performance. So all variants essentially now come with an electric sunshade for the panoramic glass roof, which is fantastic to block out the heat. They all now also have BYD's digital key functionality, which allows you to unlock the vehicle using a smartphone. For the Dynamic, which is the entry model, it also now includes a sunglasses holder and a PM 2.5 air filter. The mid-range premium one here now also gains the frequency selective dampening shock absorbers, and they were previously only exclusive to the performance spec. And now the flagship performance spec has gained BYD's DiSUS-C adaptive damping system. Now, I haven't driven one yet still. I've still got it on the list to contact BYD to drive one and to test it to see what it's all about. So hopefully by the time I get my hands on one, it's going to be this new version and I can give you guys my honest feedback on what it's all like. But that's everything BYD and price cuts for Australia. So let's keep moving on. Okay, so more BYD news. BYD Atto 3. So these are new pictures of the 2025 BYD Atto 3 that was submitted to the Chinese regulator. So the images you see here essentially reveal exterior changes and a front camera in the front fender, which hints potentially at a new ADAS or Advanced Driver Assistance System capability. So you can see that supposedly the new Atto 3 front bumper here has a new design, makes it a little bit more aggressive. You could also see the front camera over here integrated into the bumper. The grille and the headlights remain unchanged. The rear, again, it's slightly redesigned. There's also a roof spoiler that's been updated with a pair of third braking lights, replacing the single strip in the previous version. And then the other thing as well, on the right hand side, you can see apparently these are options. So you've got some colors here on the lower edge, I guess, of the front and the rear bumper. You can option it in green, you can option it in red. That's all the colors and that's everything that we know so far. There hasn't been any new spec updates from what we could see. All we know at this point in time is that there is a refresh and for the most part it's a front and rear bumper design change, and then some slight other tweaks around the car as well. And so that's the potential new BYD Atto 3. I haven't put the Australian flag because I don't know if we're specifically getting this one as yet, but at this point in time this one's for China only. Okay, more BYD news. Let's talk BYD Seagull. Now the BYD Seagull is also known as, or named, the Dolphin Mini. So it's been revealed in China. It's apparently got a redesigned front bumper, front parking radars and surround view camera system. In terms of size, I've got the size up here. So it's about 3.78 meters long, 1.71 meters wide, 1.5 meters tall. Comes standard with an electric motor, 55 kilowatts on the front axle, so front motor. Apparently there's two LFP batteries, a 30.1 kilowatt hour and a 38.9 kilowatt hour side battery. Now, as I said, these ones are LFP and the range is quoted there is CLTC, so it is way off what that's going to get you in real life in Australia if you're driving it on the roads. But either way, I think it looks like a pretty cool car. It almost looks like, in my eyes, and personal opinion, that bottom right picture makes it really look like a hot hatch. Now, I don't know what this car weighs, but I would hope that with 55 kilowatts, it still feels like a nimble car. Again, not confirmed for Australia. We don't get the current Seagull anyway, so fingers crossed we do, because I think this car will do really well. I think it'll give some competition to the upcoming Hyundai Insta, being a really small car. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really welcoming change, really welcoming competition to bring into the Australian market. So BYD, if for whatever reason you guys are watching, please bring it in. And that's all we have for BYD. So let's move on. The next thing I want to talk about, a new car's been spotted, the Skoda Space. So the former version was essentially called the Vision 7S concept, which is the car that you see over here on the bottom right. This has apparently been spied in Europe ahead of a 2026 launch. The only thing we know is that this is a 7-seater electric SUV and it's 4.9 meters. So for the ones in Australia with a tight garage in terms of length, this car might be for you. It's 7 seats and it's actually under 5 meters long. So I think that's pretty good. We just need to see, because ultimately Skoda really doesn't have heaps of EVs in Australia, or actually across the board as yet. So by the time it gets here, let's hope the technology and everything else stacks up to what it is. But that's all we have on the Skoda Space. Let's get moving on. Okay, Polestar. So there's no specific Polestar that I'm talking to here for this specific slide. It's kind of across the board and it touches all of it. So a couple of notes here from the press release that I saw. Polestar is actually expecting to be positive free cash flow after investments expected in 2027. Strong product momentum, so Polestar 3 and Polestar 4 represented 56% of order intakes in the last quarter of 2024. Here's some exciting news. The Polestar 5 is due to launch this year. Don't know if that's going to hit Australia as yet, but supposedly it is going to launch this year, and I've included a picture down the bottom there. How good does that look? I think it looks like such an amazing car, and I can't wait to see this on the road, because at the moment one of the best looking cars, again personal opinion, in terms of EVs, Audi's RS e-tron GT and the Porsche Taycan. I think both of them look absolutely amazing and one of the best looking cars on the roads. This Polestar 5, I would put it up there. Now, when the Polestar 5 comes out, it's also going to be debuting their 800 volt architecture or battery technology. Supposedly, it's also going to have up to 650 kilowatts of power and 900 Newton meters of torque. It will obviously be going up against the Porsche Taycan, and it supposedly is going to be the only model that sits on Polestar's freshly developed bonded aluminium platform. Then we've got Polestar 7, which is a premium compact SUV planned to be released in Europe, strengthening global manufacturing network. There's no specific launch dates or images of the Polestar 7 as yet, but it's expected to go on sale in 2027, and they're saying that it's going to take design cues from the rest of the Polestar range, which includes the large 3 and the mid-size 4 electric SUVs. So when we hear more, I'll make sure I share it with you guys. Other news from Polestar, the last 2 points, is dealership expansion. 75% increase in retail spaces until 2026, with start of sales in France this year. And then in the European markets, they are launching Polestar Energy in several key markets. So watch this space. There's been no confirmation obviously for Australia yet, but if Polestar Energy is launching in Europe, there is obviously a slight chance that one day we're going to get it here as well. And yeah, that's all the news on Polestar. So let's keep moving on. Let's talk Xpeng. So you guys know the G6, you guys know the G9, you know the X9. This is the next competitor for the Tesla Model Y as well. Slightly different, but still a competitor. So this is the G7. Now, what is the G7? Now, there's not too many specs that have been released, but what we do know is that it's going to be single motor, rear drive. It's a crossover SUV shape. It's going to have a really long wheelbase. So this is actually a really long car. Apparently, it's just slightly longer than the actual G9, which is the big SUV. So the dimensions here on the screen, as you can see, it is going to be an LFP battery. In terms of capacity, no idea as yet. And in terms of power, what we do know at this point in time, 218 kilowatts. Now, mind you, this obviously, they've said it's potentially going to come into Australia. What we don't know is what specs are going to potentially change by the time it's released. And again, these are only pictures that have recently been shown. And as you can see up the top over here, this is all camouflage, so it's still very hush-hush at the moment. So once I find out more, I'll make sure I let you know. Otherwise, it's all speculation from here, and keen to get your thoughts. Do you guys like this car? Would you still buy G6 over G7? Or if the G7 was available now, would you rather pick the G7 over the G6? Let me know. And the last one we've got here, Tesla Model Y. You guys know this car, it needs no introduction. We've got some more specs that have been released for the China market. So again, this is the ones that are built in China. These were essentially what was submitted to their roads authority over there. So it may potentially be somewhat different by the time it comes to Australia in terms of Australian specification. From a size point of view, it should be, I guess, fairly similar to what you see on screen. So what are we looking at? We're still looking at a roughly 4.7 meter car, almost 4.8 meters. Wheelbase 2,890 or 2.89 meters. It's 47 millimeters longer and 1 millimeter narrower than the existing model right now. In terms of wheels, two choices, the 19 or the 20 inch. Curb and gross weights are right there on screen. In terms of motor, so the rear wheel drive, 220 kilowatts with a 62.5 kilowatt hour LFP battery, CLTC range 593 kilometers. Just remember, as I said earlier on, CLTC is way off the expected range that you'd get in real life. But based on, I guess, Chinese testing standards, that's what they use, so it's 593. For the all-wheel drive, you've got 331 kilowatt combined motor. So 137 at the front, 194 at the rear. It is an NMC battery. We don't know what capacity it's going to be. And again, the not so accurate CLTC range, but 719 kilometers. So there's two more pictures for you guys in terms of what was submitted. And it seems like in the Chinese market, you've got a little plus here next to the Model Y designation, or next to the logo, and that probably indicates that that's the all-wheel drive version. But yeah, that's everything we know about the Model Y so far. And so that takes us to the end of the video. As always, if you guys have watched the entire thing, thank you so much for your support. Make sure you give the video a like, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you soon in the next one.